trusteth in man. What does God say? Cursed be the man that trusteth in man. This is why you so-called blacks and Hispanics are still under the curses. Because you what? Cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Because you trust in your oppressor. You trust in the so-called white man. You are comfortable in your captivity. Read. And maketh flesh his arm. You make what? And maketh flesh his arm. You trust in man. You make flesh your arm. This is why our people have shopping carts of items. Because they buying and selling on the Lord's Sabbath. You are breaking God's Sabbath. This is why we are under the curses. Read. And whose heart departed from the Lord. Whose heart what? And whose heart departed from the Lord. Your mind has departed from God. You have to come back to God's commandments. Chains on our necks, and they're not whipping us. They don't have to whip us. You know why? Because our minds have been programmed. Our minds have been destroyed to follow what? The customs of the other nations. But look at what God says. Give me 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. Because we respect our elders. We love our elder women. So we want to show you what God is trying to teach you. You understand? Read. The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. Read. Wherefore, come out from among them. What does God say? Wherefore, come out from among them. God says, come out from among them. We can't literally, physically come out from America, but what? What can we do? We can stop following their customs.
That's right.
Read. And be ye separate. And be what? And be ye separate. What does God say? Be ye separate. Be ye separate. We have to separate ourselves, sisters. All right? You have 6 days to buy and sell. Don't buy on this day. Let the other nations know. Let the world know that you are going to keep God's commandments.
That's right.
That is our power. That is our strength. Right. You understand? Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. Sisters, where you going now?
I'm sorry.
Where you going? You going to buy and sell?
I'm going to go buy. I'm going to go look at the information.
They open tomorrow.
They're open tomorrow. You can go tomorrow. This is the problem with our people. They have no fear of the Most High. You understand? Read. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 5. Read. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. What does God say? Cursed be the man that trusteth in man. This is why you so-called blacks and Hispanics are still under the curses. Because you what? Cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Because you trust in your oppressor. You trust in the so-called white man. You are comfortable in your captivity. Read. And maketh flesh his arm. You make what? And maketh flesh his arm. You trust in man. You make flesh your arm. This is why our people have shopping carts of items. Because they buying and selling on the Lord's Sabbath. You are breaking God's Sabbath. This is why we are under the curses. Read. And whose heart departed from the Lord. And whose heart what? And whose heart departed from the Lord. Your mind has departed from God. You have to come back to God's commandments. This is what we're teaching. Was there more? But he shall be like the hill in this desert. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28. Watch this. Verse 15, then 46. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. Read. But it shall come to pass. It shall what? But it shall come to pass. It will happen. Read. If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments, to observe and do God's commandments. Read. And his statutes. And his what? And his statutes. Read. Which I command thee this day. Which God commanded from the time of Moses until today. Read. That all these curses. All these what? All these curses. All these what? All these curses. All these curses. What curses come upon our people? Slavery was one of the curses. All right. Diseases, death, being under your oppressors is another curse. You understand? Read.
All these curses shall come upon thee.
All these curses shall come upon you so-called blacks and Hispanics. For what? For breaking God's laws.
My brother's a Puerto Rican. He didn't know that Puerto Ricans are Ephriam.
But my brother, you see this sign right here? This sign right here, right, is teaching our people. Is a sign for what? So that you know who you are. Because they're not going to teach you this in church. They're not going to teach you this in school. You understand? The only way you're going to learn is what? Through the prophets of the Most High who's out here teaching God's laws, teaching your true history. Why? Because we love our people. You understand? What do they teach you in Christianity? Who is this man right here? Jesus. Jesus. You've been taught that this is Jesus Christ. So who is this man right here? Huh? You don't know. Why? Because they haven't shown you it. They haven't taught you it. For what? You haven't read it for yourself. So now can we read it for you so that you know the true image of Jesus Christ? All right, let's read.
The book of Revelations, chapter 1, verse 1.
You a so-called Puerto Rican as well, right? So what we teaching, right, is that the so-called Hispanics, which are the Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, Guatemalans, and the so-called black people are the same people. How do we know they're the same people? Because they're under the same conditions. We live in the same neighborhoods, right? Yeah. So-called Hispanics, so-called blacks. We're the same people. We look alike. We marry one another, right? We live amongst each other because we are the same people under the same curses.
That's right.
So now we're going to show you the true image of Jesus Christ. Because, like the brother said, I'm going to ask you now, who is this right here?
I don't know that.
You don't know who this is right here?
Christ.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Prove to me this is Jesus Christ.
You don't know who that is. That's just a statue to me.
It's just a statue, so why do you say this is Jesus Christ?
That's what it's
It's known as Jesus Christ. But without any proof, our people follow it. So now we're going to show you the truth according to the Bible, okay? Watch this. Read.
Revelations, chapter 1, verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ.
The revealing. Revelation means to reveal. The revelation of Jesus Christ. Read.
Which God gave unto him to show unto his servants.
This is for you so-called Puerto Ricans, Hispanics, all right? The revelation of Jesus Christ. Why? Because we follow a white Jesus. We've been taught a white Jesus. And what has that gotten us? Death, diseases, destruction. Read.
To show unto his servants.
To show unto who?
His servants.
His servants are the so-called Hispanics, right? We are not Hispanic. We are not of Spain. Who we are is the 12 tribes of Israel.
That's right.
Read.
Things which must shortly come to pass.
Things that must happen. Read.
And he said and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Unto his servant John. So John the Revelator wrote this down so that us in the last days would know the truth of Jesus Christ. The revealing of Jesus Christ. Read.
Verse 13?
Yes.
Verse 13. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks.
In the what?
In the midst of the seven candlesticks.
In the midst of the seven candlesticks. So it doesn't say cross. It doesn't say crucifix. It says seven candlesticks. You know what the seven candlesticks? What's your name, my brother?
They just said that they're dark.
What's your name?
Carlos, sorry.
Carlos. What's the seven candlesticks?
I'm not sure. I think it's Jones.
Yeah, but what is it called? It's called the menorah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
See that?
Sorry.
Like what the brother has on his arm. Show him your armband. Sorry. Face it this way. You see that? That's the menorah.
Yeah.
That's the seven candlesticks that John the Revelator is showing. So it's not a cross like they teach us in Christianity, Catholicism. All right? Read.
And in the midst of the seven candlesticks.
In the middle of the seven candlesticks, read.
One like unto the Son of Man.
One that looked like the Son of Man. Now we're going to see why he said one like unto the Son of Man. Because at this time, Christ already had died and resurrected. Read.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot.
So he had a garment, clothing down to the foot. He had a long robe type garment. All right? Read.
and girt about and paps with a golden girdle.
He was girt, meaning he had a belt around his paps, around his waist, of a golden girdle, a golden belt. Read.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
His head and his hairs were what?
White like wool.
Does this man have hair and a beard white like wool? So that's strike one against this image, right? Strike one. Either image you pick, whether it's this one, this one, this one, this one, none of them have hair white like wool. Read it again.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
That's Santa Claus.
Who has, oh, that's a good example. White, he has white hair, right? But does he have woolly hair? Who on earth has woolly hair?
Hello, Malo.
Huh? Who has woolly hair? What people?
Black people.
Black people.
Bring it out.
Hispanic people.
Bring it out.
Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Haitians, Colombians, Cubans, Panamanians,
Africans.
right? Africans. We have woolly hair.
That's
right.
You understand? Christ had woolly hair.
Right.
So what does that tell you about Jesus Christ?
The difference.
He's different. This is not Jesus Christ.
That's right.
See how easy it is when you read for yourself and stop following church, stop following the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church who has lied to us, who did this to us. This is what the Roman Catholic Church did to the so-called Hispanics. This is what the Roman Catholic Church did to the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Cubans, the Haitians, the black people. You understand? So they the ones that gave us that image. So why do we follow it? If we're free to read for ourselves, let's read. Read.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
His eyes were as a flame of fire. Does he have eyes, flame of fire? No. This image, right, as a depiction. We're not saying Jesus Christ looks exactly like this, but if we're going to go by what's written in the book, Jesus Christ looked like this. Eyes red with fire, hair, and his head and his hairs white like wool. White hair, woolly. All right, read.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
His feet like what?
Like unto fine brass.
His feet like unto fine brass. What color is brass?
Brownish.
Brownish, right? Is a derivative of brown. Brass. So read it again.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
His feet like unto fine brass. His feet like brown. Who has brown feet? If his feet are brown, the rest of his body is what?
Same thing.
Brown, right?
Yeah.
Watch this now. My sisters, watch this. We're giving the image of Jesus Christ. Teaching the children the truth. Stop believing in white Jesus. Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
As if what?
As if they burned in a furnace.
As if they burned in a furnace. If I put a piece of wood, if I burn this wood right here, what color is it going to turn?
Black.
Black, right?
Yeah.
So read it again.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
His feet was so dark that it looked like they burned in a furnace. So what color is Jesus Christ according to the scriptures?
Yeah.
According to the Bible. What Bible are you reading?
KJV.
The King James Version 1611 Bible. The same Bible that most of us have in our households. But what? We don't read for ourselves. We're comfortable allowing the enemy, the so-called white man, right, El Papa, the Pope, to dictate to us what Jesus Christ looks like. That's a form of captivity. That is a sign that we are captive in our mind. We have to reform our thinking, our way of thinking. How do we do that? By reading, by taking the knowledge that's in that flyer and sharing it with our people. You understand? Read.
And his voice as the sound of many waters.
His voice as the sound of many waters. So he had a deep, loud voice. This is why we use a microphone and speakers. Why? Because we want our voice to resonate amongst our people, so that when they're crossing the street, passing us by, They hear the voice of God.
Bring it
They
out.
hear the words of God.
Right.
You understand? This is why there's no coincidence that you chose to stand here and listen. Why? Because it's going to stay with your spirit now. It's going to stay in your mind that you know the truth. So let me ask you a question, Carlos. My sister, what's your name?
Yolanda.
Yolanda. What are you going to, do you have this image in your house? You never had it? Does anybody in your family have it?
I think my sister.
Your sister does, right? Do you have this image in your house?
Not really, I got the Bible.
You got the Bible, but this image, do you have it in your house?
My family, like my daughter, don't believe in that too much.
Good. Because watch this.
this.
2 Corinthians chapter 10, casting down. And then the one in Deuteronomy. You know which one I want, right?
7. Talking about 7 and Deuteronomy. But I got 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5.
Watch this.
Casting down imagination.
Read verse 4.
Verse 4. For the weapon of our warfare.
The weapons of our warfare. Why? Because it's a spiritual battle to what? To fight for the minds of our people. We have to reach our people. This is why we come out here. Because they won't put us on national television. They won't put us in the school systems to teach the people the truth. All right? We can't rely on our enemy because that's who they are when you look at it. All right? The people that brought us here on slave ships, the people that took away Puerto Rico from us, that took away our gold, our oil, our diamonds, our riches, right? And killed our ancestors, we cannot rely on them to tell us the truth. We have to find out for ourselves. We have to speak with one another. Blacks and Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. Why? Because we are the family. We are the nation that God chose. The Israelites, that's who we are. You know what Israel means? Israel means prince of the power with God. We have power with God when we keep his commandments.
That's right.
So we have to change our way of thinking. It starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with you, Carlos. You understand? Yeah. And when you start changing, your people are going to start changing. You have children? No. No children yet. Sis, you have a daughter, you said?
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
And a granddaughter.
So what are you going to do when you go home?
Today?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my daughter.
Okay, good.
Right now.
But you have to share this information with them. You understand,
They
sis?
usually share it with me because
Good.
they're more into God
Good,
than
because
I am.
you thought this was Jesus Christ. So now what do you
No,
know?
I really didn't think. I said that's what people
Okay, good, good. A very good answer. So now, what do you know the truth about Jesus Christ?
I don't know.
We just showed you, according to Revelations
He was
1:14,
black,
right? He's black, with hair like wool, right? Feet as if they burned in a furnace. So that's a black man. That's a depiction of a black man. Watch this.
But everything
Continue with
there's
2
almost
Corinthians.
everything in this, man.
What's man?
Man said, like, you know, like,
What?
who wrote that?
Who wrote this? Let's see who wrote this. Give me Psalm 68, verse 11.
The book of Psalms, chapter 68, verse 11.
You read Psalms, right? Watch this.
God gave the word.
So you want to know who wrote the Bible? Read it again.
The Lord gave the word.
The Lord, God gave the word. Read.
Great was the company of those that published it.
Great was the company of those that published it. So the Israelites was written by the Israelites for the Israelites.
That's
you understand? Right. So God preserved his word for us in the last days. You understand? So there's no mistake. Because if what we teaching is a lie, why do they refuse to teach it in the churches?
Bring it out.
Why? If it's in there, why don't they teach it? Because they want to keep it hidden from you.
Bring it out.
You understand? Go back to 2 Corinthians.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
The weapons, a weapon. What is a weapon for? Huh?
To defend.
To defend, to fight, right? Are not carnal, meaning it is not something that you can hold in your hand and fight with. It is not carnal, it's not fleshly. Read.
But mighty.
But what?
But mighty.
But mighty. Read.
Through God.
Through who?
Through God.
Through God. Our weapons are mighty through God.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.